book besties, welcome back to the channel, or welcome if you're new. My name is Kyan and this is Kyan is Booked. I have my stack of books here and my couple books here, and I'm finally ready to chat with you guys about my March reads. So I always feel weird. I don't know why. I dread filming this video, which is crazy because I kind of get to go back and I kind of get to look at books that I read earlier in the month and remember why I love them so much, or why I stayed up all night reading them. So I'm not really sure why I've been putting this off, because I had a really good reading month, minus one book, but I think it'll make sense once I kind of talk about why I didn't hate it, but I didn't love it. Anyways, we're gonna get the couple of things out of the way first, because there are some things that I read and there are videos for them, so you can dive into those and take a look. So first off, I read the Book of Azriel and The Throne of Broken Gods. These are special editions. I am absolutely obsessed with them. And Jess and I read this. She's Love to Love Books on Instagram, and we read this for our book club, The Good, the Bad, the Smutty, which is always linked down below. If you want our thoughts on it, really in-depth, hour-long thought about these two books, you can definitely find it at the link below. Just know that I gave both of these 4 stars, and I am intending on finishing the series. I actually am working on a vlog for it. I just have to read book 3 and then I'm going to post it, because I'm not going to wait till the end of the series. But I needed a little bit of a break, so I will come back to it. And then, yeah, so vlog coming, 4 stars, really enjoying it so far. That was the book club picks. I think that's it. I didn't really post a lot of vlogs last month. Huh. Who is she? Okay. So then we're going to start on all of the in-depth books that we have read so far. Well, that we read in the month of March. Okay, sorry, Belle wanted to join us. So she's in the background. You can't really see her though, because she's a black lab. But if you see something moving back there, nobody's breaking into my house. It's just my pup. She wants to be a part of everything. So we're going to talk, like I said, about the in-depth read-along, well, the reread that I'm doing. So there are 3 books of the 61 published right now that I haven't read. But I find the In-Depth series by J.D. Robb to be a super big comfort read for me. So I went back to the very beginning and I reread it, and I've been doing a favorite by year. So the first 10 years of the series, because it started publishing in 1995, the first 10 years of the series, I have the video. I'll link it for you if you'd like to watch it. And then I'm about to film the second, and I'm almost able to film the third, because we're coming up on the 30th anniversary. So I'm close. I have to wait, I think, for the September release, and we'll be good to go. But that's neither here nor there. The first book I read was Dark in Death, and I gave this one 5 stars. So this is where a serial killer becomes fixated on a romantic suspense writer's books and starts modeling the murders after the murders in the books. And the writer figures it out. She's actually a friend of Nadine First, who is our star reporter in this, and really good friends with Eve and Rorik. Well, the whole crew, really. So she comes and she says, hey, this is really similar. And she's able to describe each of the murders in explicit detail. And Eve's like, how do you know that? She's like, because I wrote them in my book. And each of the detectives in Eve's division had picked up a case, and it was Eve's case that made the author realize, oh no, this is actually happening, and that ties all of the cases together, and they're rushing to find out who the person is that's fixated on this author and try and save her life, because ultimately once the person works through the fixation through the books, they would be coming for the author. So that is Dark in Death. I gave it 5 stars. I thought the crime itself was just so incredibly interesting, and I loved the idea that it was based off the romantic suspense books, because it was super cool. Then I read Leverage in Death. Where? Okay, I gave this one 4 stars. So this is a story about a guy who walks into a merger meeting that's going to save the company that he works for, and he apologizes to his boss before he blows up the entire boardroom. And there's a couple people in the boardroom who live through to tell the tale, but then then they find out that his family was being held against their will, and he had like this headphone in his ear, this earbud in his ear, and they were playing the sound of like his daughter like screaming for him and like asking for him to save her. And that was what they used to control him. And so he blows it up, like they release the family, and then they slowly start to, this is like crew, right? And they slowly start to like move from person to person, and it's like this vendetta, and they're using leverage, which are the family members, to get the person to blow up or to do whatever it is that they're asking them to do. And I gave this one 4 stars. Coming off Dark in Death, it was like really hard. Like I thought it was a cool concept, but it didn't, to me, like eclipse Dark in Death, so it was hard for me to give it also 5 stars. But I thought it was very interesting, like the idea of using the family members and like having that leverage against them to like control them. So definitely enjoyed it. I do listen to this entire series on audio. Susan Erickson is an amazing narrator, and she has a very specific voice for like each of the characters. So if you're an audiobook person, then I would recommend listening to them, because it's a really good time, and also kind of like helps with like the movie or like the TV show in your head. All right, next up is Connections in Death. I gave this one 5 stars. Oh, this one is so, I remember why I gave this one 5 stars. It's so sad. Okay. So, if you've been following along in the series, Rorik and Eve are opening up a shelter for children. So like runaways, or like people who've lost their family, or like people who struggle in the foster care system. Like this is like another place that they can go and get like real life experience and be cared for and all of that. And the person who's going to become the head, I don't want to say like the head shrink, but the head psychiatrist for the entire facility, her younger brother, Lyle, moves in with her when he gets out of the halfway house, because he's like been battling a really bad drug addiction. He left behind the gang life, and he's trying to move on with his life, right? So she gets back from a date, and she finds him dead by supposed overdose. But Eve unravels this whole sinister plot to rustle up an entire gang war and to take Lyle out for like not being loyal. But it's not the person who's responsible for the gang that he left. It's a couple of underlings who like wanted to take over. So I thought this was really interesting, but also too incredibly gut-wrenching, because he had turned his life around, and he was making better choices, and he was moving on, and he had gotten off of the drugs, and like it just felt like such a, I don't know, I was just so mad that he didn't get the opportunity to like really prove to himself and to everybody else in his life that like he had made the changes that he needed to make. And it just made me sad. And then it made me sad because like Eve felt really bad for like obviously the entire situation, but also too like Rorik was in on it. And Crack, who he's the bouncer at the strip club that they all go to, and Eve actually solved his sister's murder, and Crack's the one who called Eve and was like, hey, like I need your help. So this one was like 5 stars because it was absolutely gut-wrenching, right? Next up is Vendetta in Death, and I gave this one 4 stars. And this was so funny. So her name's Lady Justice, and she, like, how do I describe this without getting banned by YouTube? So essentially these guys are going afoul of the law or sexually women at work, and they're just not being caught, and she knows about it. Like she hears the rumors, like the police reports that go unfounded, etc., etc. So she turns herself into Lady Justice and starts kidnapping these men, torturing these men, and ultimately cutting off their and dropping them somewhere that's completely horrific, and all of their crimes come out, and all of the rumors and the slander and everything like that. So she's Lady Justice. She believes that what she's doing is absolutely justice, and is getting that for the women who never had the opportunity to get it, right? And it was a very interesting concept. I thought she was bananas, but also too at the same time, like, I understand being so sunk into your grief and so sunk into what's happening to you that you feel like that's the right choice. And I also thought it was really interesting to watch Eve battle against herself in the sense of like, yeah, she understands why she did it, but it's not justice. So definitely an interesting read. Golden in Death is the 50th book in the In Death series. And this one I gave 4 stars. So Golden in Death essentially is where an egg gets delivered to a house. It has like a form of gas on the inside of it. And when it hits the air for a certain period of time, it is deadly and it is toxic. And the person is essentially, they die. A really horrible like asphyxiation and like all this kind of stuff. And then their loved one gets home and like finds them dead and all this kind of stuff. And it becomes this like whole big like dramatic situation. And they slowly realize it's like a target list. And I actually talked to Heather about this because we're listening to the series like at the same time. And the villains, you're supposed to hate them, but like, I just couldn't stand these guys. And I couldn't stand like what they did. I must have like offended her because she just got up and walked away. I couldn't stand what they did and I couldn't stand why they did it. And I was just so mad at them. Like, yeah, I know. And you're probably like, kind of supposed to be mad at the villain. And I hear what you're saying, but like, anyways, very good. Shadows in Death, 4 stars. This one is about a man who comes back from Rorik's past and the way that the NYPSD rallies around Rorik and is there for him, and especially Eve, because like the man from Rorik's past is targeting Eve, and the way that like they all rally as like a family to get this guy out of there, because what you're not going to do is come to New York and mess with our family. And that's that. I don't want to give too much away because like I'm deeper in, right? And like I know all the players right now and I can't remember if the one bad guy I'm thinking of is in this book or in a later book or in a previous book. So I don't want to spoil it. But just know that like it's Eve's family rallying around her and Rorik because they're all a family and they're all a team. And I don't know, like I just love those types of moments in books, especially when you have that ensemble cast, and that's exactly what the series is. Okay, Faithless in Death, I gave, oof, I need to dust my shelves. Faithless in Death, I gave 4 stars, and this is a torrid affair that uncovers a cult. And yeah, I don't want to say anything else. I do like the fact that the mass markets are coming floppier these days. Or is this trade? I think this is trade paperback. Anyways, I like the floppiness of it. But yeah, so essentially Gwen comes in. She finds her friend Ariel dead. There's an affair between Ariel and Gwen, right? Pretty obvious from the get. But then we find out who Gwen is related to and to who her parents grew up and like where they live and like how it ties back to this like huge massive like cult situation and perfection. JD Robb, aka Nora Roberts, she writes a cult classic. Like, I love that kind of stuff. And my last in Death book for the month was Forgotten in Death. And this one really hit me in my feelings and I gave it 5 stars. And I can't believe that like I forgot that I read this book and I read this story. Granted, you're probably like, okay, girl, but there's like 61 books in the series. How do you keep it all straight? And I hear what you're saying. But so they find a homeless lady in a dumpster. She's been murdered. And they find another body underneath, like it's one of Rorik's buildings. And they're excavating the building, they're demoing the building because they're going to rebuild it. And they find a body, but it was a pregnant woman because there's a fetus body as well that was put into this wine cellar. And what's a helicopter doing flying this late at night? Anyway, so they find the fetus, they find the mother, they find this whole situation, right? And it's horrific that this pregnant woman was murdered and thrown into like the wall of a wine cellar. And then it's horrific that this homeless woman who ended up being somebody who like hid her identity and ran from somebody who's really, really like, this had me in my feelings. I listened to this audiobook in like a day, less than 24 hours. I had this finished. I definitely teared up in places because like Forgotten in Death is a perfect title for this, because like these people like were thrown in a dumpster and hidden behind a wall and absolutely forgotten. Like it was just acceptable that these people no longer existed in life anymore. And my heart hurt so much, but like by the end of it, Eve had she had gotten them justice. And I don't want to say too much because a lot of this unfolds like in real time in the book, but like I just like they were forgotten for such a long period of time, and then Eve brought them back and was like, we're not going to forget about them, and we're going to give them their day, and we're going to give them their justice, and I'm going to do everything I can to avenge them, because like I couldn't save them, but like I can give them what I couldn't give them in life, in death. And it just, this one really got to me. I like totally forgot, and then there I was like tearing up on my run. So that's what you get for listening to audiobooks by your run. All right. Next up, let me scoot over because these are actually a few of them I don't own, so that's surprising. So first up, you have A Beautiful Exile by Catherine Cowles. You guys know I gave this 5 stars, mostly just because I loved Arden. This is a story. Lincoln is best friends with Cooper, and he owns the hockey team that Cooper plays for, and Arden is Cooper's sister. So this is artist, female on the run, billionaire, he falls first, brother's best friend. I'm loving a brother's best friend right now. And there was just something like really beautiful about the fact that like Lincoln fell like very early on, very hard, very fast for Arden. And she's our prickly, moody artist, and she doesn't know if she wants to let anybody in. And she kind of wants to give him the opportunity to try, but she also isn't sure. And I don't know, I just like, I loved that about her. And I just like liked the whole dynamic of the situation. And I thought they were so cute together. And I definitely still think that book 2 is my favorite, but this next book, with the couple that it's going to be, I have a really, really good feeling that, they might actually end up being my favorite. Book 4s in Catherine Cowles series really get me. Like that's where like my favorite hero usually ends up, the 4th book. But that's neither here nor there. If you haven't started the Sparrow's Fall series, like jump on, guys. We're all live laughing and loving our way through this, okay? Next up, I read One Look by Lena Hendricks. This is my first Lena Hendricks book. It will not be my last Lena Hendricks book because I absolutely loved it. This follows Wyatt and Lark, and they meet at a funeral where Lark has been paid to come and like cry over this guy's casket by Wyatt's aunt. And this is like a family rivalry. So you have the Kings and you have the Sullivans, and like they don't like each other, and you got to stay on this side, you got to stay on that side. It just it's either here nor there. Like it's just so insane to me. This woman took money to come and like cry at this guy's funeral, and she's never met him before in their life. But it's fine. It's neither here nor there. Single parent. He's a single parent, so Wyatt has a daughter. Lark ends up as like his assistant nanny type situation. They're like, we're not gonna do anything. We're not gonna, and like Wyatt's not even sure he likes her. And then we all know what happens. And it's perfect. I loved it. I'm really excited to dive into Lena's backlist. Like I said, this is the first book of hers I read, but it definitely will not be the last. Then, y'all, I finished Rebel Witch, which is book 2. Oh my God, what series is this? Why am I blanking? The Crimson Moth series. It's right here on the front of the book, girl. Anyways, so this follows up with Rune and Gideon, and I don't want to say too much because both the books are running together at this point, and I don't want to accidentally spoil it, but I adored the ending to this. I know a lot of people weren't sure how they felt about it. I loved it. I love Gideon. I love Rune. I love them together. I was so excited when they got their happily ever after. 5 freaking stars because mwah. Then guys, I've been waiting for this one, and this one's definitely my favorite of the month, which is Give Me a Reason by A.L. Jackson. So I read her Moonlight Ridge series last month, and I just started on Redemption Hills because they were mentioned, the couples in the series were mentioned in that series. Trent Lawson has my heart. I don't know if A.L. Jackson's going to be able to write a hero that will beat him for me. And it is like, it's, if you were to write or have me meet a man in real life, that I would say what I would be most compatible or like I would want in my life, it would be Trent. It would be somebody who is down for the family, down to protect people, a great father. Oh my gosh, a wonderful father. So absolutely caring for the people that matter in his life. Alpha is possessive, but not in a way that's like disgusting and annoying. Basically what I'm telling y'all is that, like, you're not going to be able to tell me anything about this man. You're not going to be able to tell me anything about Trent. Like, he's it for me. And this is my favorite book of the month. Like, I've been trying to pick my favorite books of every month in the month so that when I go to do my favorite books of each month the next year, I'm not like, I think it was this one. No, I'm deciding them right now, and it's this one. And it's Trent Lawson, and thank you so much for coming to my wrap up so I could tell you guys about why I love him so much. And you know what? If you think you've heard the last of it, you haven't, because I have Instagram posts. He is going to be on any possible rec video, rec anything I can make, because we love a single daddy, but we love a single daddy who's a good father. Okay? Next up, I read Shatter Me by Tahira Mafi. I gave it 4 stars. I will not be continuing in the series because, okay, Juliet, Warner, Adam. I want her with Adam. She's going to end up with Warner. I didn't like Warner. I know I'm not supposed to like him. It's a love triangle. I don't want to read a YA love triangle. And you know what? Maybe I'll change my mind. Maybe I will listen to it in an audio format. I'm not sure. As of right now, though, I didn't want to read it. I gave it 4 stars. Not hating on it. If you love it, I love that for you. I just wasn't in the mood for it. I read that after I read this book, Give Me a Reason. And I was like, I can't do it. I just knocked over all the books too. Okay. It's because of these mass market paperbacks, man. You can't stack stuff up. Okay. Next up, I read The Foxglove King by Hannah Witten. This is a love triangle. I think it's a love triangle. I don't know. I'm halfway through the second book, and I just don't know what's happening here. So you have Bastion, who is the Sun Prince. You have Lore, who is a thief. And you have Gabe, who's a priest. And you heard me right. He's a priest. And in all of this, there's this coup to kill Bastion, give his uncle supreme power, bring a god back. There's a lot of stuff going on here, and Laura's the key to it because she can channel the darkness, and Sebastian can channel the light because he's the sun prince and stuff. And then Gabe, there's this really horrific accident that came, and like he gave himself to the gods, and like he can't lay with a woman or like be with a woman, but like he is obsessed with Laura, and then mad at the fact that Bastion's obsessed with her. And it's really messy, and I can't tell, like, is Gabe in this? Is he not in this? Bastion, do you like her? Do you just like her power? I don't know what's going on, guys. I gave it 4 stars, and I started the second book because I'm nothing if not wanting the drama. And you're probably thinking, why are you willing to read this and you're not willing to read the rest of the Shatter Me series? Because the rest of the Shatter Me series like reads like a teenager wrote it, which is fine. But the Foxglove King, the Nightshade trilogy, I believe is what it's called, reads like an adult wrote it, but has a lot of like messy drama in it. That's what I'm here for. Okay? Moving on. Next up, I read Killer of Mine and Secrets of Mine. This is a FBI agent, reverse harem. We're chasing down a serial killer who happens to be the female main character's dad. So she's in witness protection. Nobody knows that the serial killer that they're chasing down is her dad. And she calls in an anonymous tip about him after she runs away because she's been a victim her entire life because her dad's a serial killer. And she runs into these guys and she works for, oh God, does she work for the FBI? I don't know who, no, she's a detective and she gets pulled into the case. And then the FBI special unit, serial crimes unit, figures out her connection, and then she confesses her connection, and then she starts a relationship with all 4 of them. Highly recommend. Third book is out in April. Hyped. Okay. The Ritual is a reread, so I read it it's by Chantal Tessier. I gave it 5 stars. Rye and Blake are my favorite couple of the series. I've read book 2, and I reread The Ritual with the intention of finishing the series. We're trying to finish series this year. It's a theme on BookTube. I love that we're all like, let's read our physical TBR. Let's finish series. It's a lot harder than I was expecting it to be. But anyways, 5 stars. I love him. I love how obsessed he is with her. I love how hard he falls for her. And you're never going to convince me that they're not an amazing couple. Then, wait, is that the last one? No. Then I read Say It's Forever. And this is Judd and, Salem. So, ironically enough, Salem's ex, it has the same name as my ex. And I was like, gosh. And we didn't like him. And I was like, yes, queen, because we don't like him. Anyways, definitely me projecting on the book. So this is a story of a girl who gets caught in a rainstorm and her car dies, and a very hot gentleman on a motorcycle skirts up and is like, hey girl, do you need a ride? Takes her back to her place. Her brother ends up working for him, right? But her ex-husband, baby daddy, is looking for her because she ran away with her daughter, and her brother said, oh, it's safe for you to come home. And she believes her brother, and then it all just starts to pop off from there. That was a wild explanation, and I know you feel like it's a wild explanation. I gave Judd 5 stars with the understanding that Trent will always have my heart. Judd is Trent's brother, though. And I'm excited about the next book because their other brother, I can't remember his name right now, he gets his book. Hang on, let me click back here. Oh, there's no preview on this. Well, I feel kind of annoyed by that. Okay. Also, too, by the way, y'all, it's signed because I met her. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, those are the 20 books I read in the month of March. March is crazy. Book signings, spring break. I definitely prioritized my sleep, but guess what, baby? We're filming this in April, and we're not prioritizing sleep. We're reading. Good, bad, or ugly. So, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoy the wrap-up. Let me know in the comment section down below if we have any similar books. If you see one of your favorites, or if you're like, girl, you like this, read this. I'm always looking for more books to add to my TBR. And as always, friends, thank you so much for watching. I will catch you in the next video. Bye.